Hello, I'm going to talk about my theory of personality. First of all, I want to start off by describing personality, and to me, it's an enduring behavior specific to each individual. And I say specific because there are so many different characteristics one can acquire, and therefore the combinations each individual holds make their personality unique. Personality is important because we experience these behaviors in everyday life. Even if it's not around others, we still experience it within ourselves. And one of those things within ourselves would be identity. And I kind of want to look at identity specifically and how a person forms an identity. I believe things like stress and anxiety affect our identity as well as motivation. Identity is formed when an individual's personality becomes consistent. It is a person's sense of self, like I have here, and how they perceive themselves. Also, too, it's important to recognize that it's not just how they perceive themselves, but also how they want to be perceived by others as well. And I believe for that very reason, our personalities we can change to a degree even when our identity is formed, because we're always trying to conform to that perfect self that we see in our everyday lives. First of all, I'm going to talk about stress and anxiety, because I feel like that it has a huge impact on our personality and our identities. Stress is the feeling of anxiety you get from difficult situations. Also, physical pressure, distress, uneasiness are ways of describing stress and anxiety. When stress takes over, because our bodies and minds are only equipped to handle so much, our identities start to feel threatened, and we show behaviors that we wouldn't normally show or even approve of. And I believe that that threat also is why, depending on certain stressors and how difficult, or how the degree of how difficult that they are, we also start to apply defense mechanisms, which are also, just to protect our identities, I guess, in a way. Different defense mechanisms are denial, repression, suppression, displacement, and projection. And because I went over these in the last video, I won't go over it too much, but I see defense mechanisms as a way of distorting or denying reality when we are unable to handle too much stress. There are ways of coping through stressful situations using positive emotions, like in the study by Susan Folkman and Judith Moskowitz in 2000, and they discovered positive emotion coping strategies like positive reappraisal, which is basically focusing on the good during a stressful situation instead of only focusing on the bad that we cannot control. Also, they looked at creating positive events during a stressful period, and both of these really helped in the study. After looking at some of these negative effects to our identity, I think it's also important to look at the positive, like what motivates us and our goals. And I think the reason why this applies to identity is because our identity sort of determines which direction we go with our motives and our goals. Motivations are different for every individual, which I basically just said. There are a couple different types of, or different motivational theories that I guess I think I've taken a lot from. One is the big three motives, which are achievement, power, and intimacy, which I have here. Achievement is basically, I feel like we strive for a sense of pride and to improve our self-esteem, and we do that by, achieving different things throughout our life for our work or our school. The second is power, and I guess I think power is a motivation for some people, if not all people, to a certain degree, because we all sort of seek some type of control in our lives. And the third is intimacy, which kind of deals with our social interactions, and which kind of also ties into then Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because one of his levels of needs would relate to the social interactions. Maslow's hierarchy of needs starts out with the basic needs, which are the physiological, which is basically our need for immediate survival, like food and water. And then security, which would be like shelter. Then there's also the higher level needs, like belongingness, which I would relate to intimacy, because it's our feeling to belong, like to a family, to a club, a team, any type of organization or social group. The fourth one is self-esteem, and I feel like we all have those needs because we all want to feel competent and able to achieve our goals. And then the final one is self-actualization. And basically it's the need to develop our potential or to be somebody, which I also think relates to motivation and goals. So that's basically why I wanted to discuss those theories a little bit. And in conclusion, I guess I believe that personalities reflect our identity, which has been the whole focus of this video. And I believe that they can be threatened by stress and anxiety or enhanced by motivation and goals. So I just, with one last word, keep smiling.